Hi everyone, it's about 1:50 Eastern, 12:50 Central, midday update, and I thought it would be of interest to people who haven't sailed the race before or maybe don't sail just to get a feel for what things are like on the water. And Colleen Feeney on Bayou, a Beneteau 40.7, I think Ron Bouzille owns this boat, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Hi Ron. Um, has been posting pictures on Twitter, and I'll just pick one out, and there's a lot going on in this picture, right? So number one, they're going into the wind, and when sailboats go into the wind, they're beating, as we talked about, they're going to heel over. So the horizon line in the back is level, and the boat is all on an angle right there. So that's fun, right? So everything you're doing inside of the cabin, outside of the cabin, you're just trying to slide downhill. In fact, you can see the main trimmer bracing himself or herself right there against the pedestal so that it goes sliding downhill. Number two, they're cold and they're wet. Waves are breaking over the boat. You can bet on it. They're all in their full foul weather gear. There's no sun. It's not fun. It's really, I mean, it's good sport and entertainment, but it's not, a pleasant day drinking martinis on the boat like people seem to think sailing is. Um, the next thing to note is the safety, and I'm really impressed by this. Everyone has a PFD on, everyone's got a harness on, everyone's got their clips. These are the clips that they use to clip into we can't see the jack stay lines, but this is great to see the safety equipment. So if and when they need to move around the boat, or if they're feeling uncomfortable, they just clip in, or really, it's a great habit, and these guys, it's really nice to see safety in action like that. The last thing I want to point out real fast, look at this. Yeah, this is really, you got to think about this one for a second. We're looking back behind the boat. The boat has just gone over this wave, and that's all of the sky that you can see. So you're looking from the deck of a boat straight back, and the wave is so big that kind of like like the clouds are almost obscured. It's so big. It's really something to behold when you look back and see a breaking wave behind you like that. Of course, there's probably some breaking waves in front of them too. So thanks, Colleen, for sharing that, and hopefully that gives everyone a little flavor. Okay, so what's going on in the race? I'm going to focus first in the straits here. And earlier today, we had boats come screaming up. In fact, they're still really screaming up into Gray's Reef, which is right here. El Mostro is just entering. They're showing 8.2. I think they're probably going a little faster than that in real life. We've got cruising boats going 5, 6, 7 knots through here, which is great. We've got Intangible, which is a very well-sailed Tartan 3700, going 6.7 knots. But watch as we get closer and closer and closer here, 5.8 knots. And here's Arete, right? Arete was going 19.9 knots earlier today when I checked. And they can go a lot faster than that. And here they are going 8.2 knots. Wow. And Roxy came flying around the corner, God, 2 hours ago? 2.5 hours ago? Now they're doing 1.8 knots, and they have 6.8 nautical miles to the finish. So they've got, 3, 4 hours left at this speed, which is, wow, a long time. Because by now, as I said, you've seen the bridge since about right here. You've been going towards the bridge for a couple of hours at this point. It's the longest 17 miles of your life, really. And if at this point, also, if the wind's coming from the right direction, you can see the island, you see the Grand Hotel right there. You can smell the island if the wind is coming in the right direction. I'm not sure that it is today. You certainly can smell all the pine trees on the two peninsulas here. It's really overwhelming, and you're almost there. But look, the winds have died here in the straits, and you can see that a little bit on the regional wind plot here. I'm buying these wind speeds over the lake, right? The 15 knots right there, 15 at Milwaukee. I'm not buying these 5s and 10s here. I'm buying this 15. These 5s and 10s are a little bit inland, and I think they're a little bit light for what we're seeing and what reports we're getting in the lake, what models are showing us. I am, however, buying this kind of calm right here. This particular barb on Mac Island was only 5 knots last time I looked, so we're more in like the 5 or 8 or 10 knot range. Out of the sort of northeast. Winds are light up in the straits, and I'll show you in a second the models have a really, really, really good handle on that. So there's a lot of work left to be done when boats turn the corner here from can number 3, which is what's happening right there with this blue boat with Northern Light, and do the stretch all the way to the finish. There's a lot of work, a whole nother race, is the way that we used to think of it. One last race from Gray's Reef to the finish. Even sometimes one more from the bridge to the finish. It's really about working here. Okay, so let's just look at the general race situation, and then I'm going to do the weather, and then I'm going to wrap up. So the general race situation, you saw Il Nostro This is cruising in turbo boats back this way, right? I happen to have, I think, Endless Summer. Someone just asked me about Endless Summer, highlighted right there. But we have our cruising and turbo boats in this area right here. And we've got, actually, I apologize, we've got even some turbo boats back here in the Santa Cruz 70s. Andrews 77 Ocean is also back there, beating right now north of Point Betsy and thinking about how to enter to the Manitou Passage, which is no small feat with a wind like this. Would continue to be something I have never seen before going on here. Earlier today, we had a million, 100 and something boats, right, all sitting right in this little pocket right here between Little Sable Point and Big Sable Point. What everyone mostly has done is tacked out. They've cleared Big Sable Point and then tacked back in because they're getting a little bit of protection from the waves here from Point Betsy and from further up from the Manitou. So the waves aren't as bad if you're kind of hugging the shore and working back and forth into shore as they are if you're out here in the open lake where it's just a long fetch, lots of big waves going on out there. I expect to see people continue to work up and down this shoreline, work their way around Point Betsy, and I would assume get here in the lee of the Manitous. Now that's going to have some ramifications as I'm going to show you in just a second because I've got a weather forecast for tomorrow. Start with today, 1 p.m. right now. Models do a beautiful job of showing lighter winds up here in the straits. That's what we're seeing right now. High winds over the center of the lake as forecast yesterday. Those high winds continue over the lake through 7 p.m., maybe easing a little bit. Not a heck of a lot, though. Direction's still northerly, and we still have light winds throughout the straits. So that long stretch where you really got to work once you pass Gray's Reef is going to continue. 1 o'clock tomorrow morning, the first thing that happens is the wind starts coming out of the northeast, right? If you look at the streamlines here now, they aren't this way like we've seen for a few days. They're this way now. They're starting to go more that way, and that's right down the Manitou Passage, which means now if you're going to go through the Manitou Passage, you're going to be tacking back and forth through the Manitou Passage and probably the whole way, all the way up to Gray's Reef. So it's going to be slow going for the next 12 hours, trying to work to Gray's Reef area, which is sort of where the boats are trying to go and through the Manitou Passage. By tomorrow morning, quickly, really incredibly quickly, the wind field collapses as the high pressure system moves over. The northeast winds that we saw are replaced. So this looks to me kind of like the center of the high pressure in here, more or less. We still have very light northerly winds over the straits. We actually have what appears to be, I can't tell, but like a land breeze forming right here, where the wind is coming off the land due to the unequal temperatures between the land and the water going on right there, and actually a land breeze going on here also. So all of a sudden, we've been in this huge thermal through like 1 in the morning, and this huge gradient with very strong winds, and all of a sudden it shuts off, and the thermal breezes take over tomorrow morning. That continues. We're in a lake breeze setup where the land being warmer than the lake causes air to come from the lake over the land tomorrow, and that makes the straits very, very difficult, by the way, generally. So light winds through 1 p.m. tomorrow and light winds all the way through 7 p.m. tomorrow. Now we have another high pressure system. This looks like the lake high actually starting to develop a southerly gradient that's going to help us out by the time we get to 1 a.m. Tuesday and hopefully sort of bring things along by 7 a.m. Tuesday. Hopefully we're all done by then. But the moral of the story is there's a very heavy wind, big waves day today. There's a very light wind, smooth, thermally driven, nuanced day tomorrow. To win this race, if you're in that racing fleet that's at Point Betsy right now, you've got to figure out how to make as much as you can out of this heavy conditions, and then change and make as much as you can out of those light transition conditions, and manage a transition between the two. So it's going to be a fascinating next day of racing, and boy, a lot of work out on the water. Hope this helps. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you guys on Facebook. Thanks. Bye.